This is a comic review of Look and Learn, incorporating the Ranger magazine, issue 292, and this came out in 1967, 19th of August 1967, and every Monday, 1 shilling and 3 pence. It's got 36 pages, colour black and white, mix of. It's got this lovely cover here, and it's from Fleetway. Obviously, Look and Learn. I didn't buy any copies of Look and Learn. I bought lots of copies of this comic, that comic, and I must Look and Learn for some weird reason, maybe because of the price, maybe something. I just didn't buy it. I think I must have bought a few issues. I must have, over the years, I've had issues, but no, not so familiar with all the stuff. However, before I go actually talking about the comic, this book is all about Fleetway, mentions Look and Learn, one of the reasons why I would, it's quite fascinating, and it's 25 years at the top of comics, John Sanders. This is from Rebellion, really worth reading, lots of behind the scenes, lots of information. Makes you wonder when you read these things how comics or anything ever gets out because of all the issues and problems and everything. So it's a fascinating read, like about Tina as well, Princess Tina. Thoroughly enjoyable read. I will be doing a review of that. But anyway, straight to this. Victor and Albert, great cover. And then you've got a lot of mix of different... Now, unfortunately, really got lovely June. This one has been cut apart. Now, this is the only copy I've got, so I can't show any other copy of Look and Learn. Now, maybe every other issue is very different from this. So this is obviously just a song. It's got an article here about Japan. Obviously a lovely drawing. And unfortunately, in quite a lot of these, they never put who it's by. I mean, there's obviously by really top quality artists in many cases. And you look at it and think, that's pretty good, but no indication. Now, many people I'm certain will say, that's XYZ. I'm not very good when it comes to telling who artists are. I always think, oh, that must be Ron Hamilton or something. You know, I think, oh, that must be this person, that person. I don't know. However, got a great little, and I think this magazine the comic was for, well, boys and girls, because there's quite a mix of different stories. It's not all like adventure stories. There's sort of, basic stories like of animals and things. And that's not to say that I don't like animal stories. I love animal stories. So it is certainly aimed at, clearly, there was no just one audience. So you've got here young artists in the issue. World of stamps. What do you want to be? Now, this is quite good as well. This is news and languages. Really handy. Lovely, again, lovely drawing there as well. Which is, again, no name or anything listed on there. So it's pretty bad in that respect. Would have been nice to include that. But obviously they didn't. So, but you got there. But you'll see, for learning languages. So you could become like a stewardess or whatever. You've obviously got going on coaches. You've got obviously teaching languages and obviously in Spain or whatever. Really quite useful information. As a kid, I would have loved to have looked at all this because at that time I really didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. Still don't have a clue what I want to do now. So I don't know about back then, but that's a different matter. So you've got all the whole heaps of different things. A lot of information, really useful. You got about London Midland Scottish Railway. You got letter from Jackie. Again, lovely illustration and no indication by who it's by. The roughest horse race in the world. Absolutely lovely bit, obviously, about Italy, Siena. Love Siena. It's the most beautiful city. You got brilliant Seven Eyes Smith. Then you're on to the Ranger, which is the first of the comic strips in this. And this is one of the reasons I bought it. But I actually quite like the articles as well. And the short stories are fine. Very, very readable stories, even now. You got this one. This story is actually immensely apt. Because we're obviously at the moment, we're in the middle of this COVID crisis. And you've actually got this guy calls up the various obviously authorities, emergency, and he says, calling all stations, world emergency. And he turns around and says about this poisonous gas, get everyone inoculated even. Anyway, already warned, the authorities have begun the huge task of inoculating the people against the effects of the gas. It's really quite handy that they don't know anything particularly about the gas, I suppose, unless they do. Maybe they knew exactly what the gas was. But, because obviously you need to know a little bit about it before you can start. But obviously they quickly produced the antidote, which is good. And they've government mobile inoculation stations. Really quite, timely little cartoon. And you've got all the people coming out, obviously, after having their vaccinations. All through that thing. And all the lovely long, big queues and everything there. However, off on that, but it's quite interesting that 1967, you had a story like that. Obviously, making certain that we were getting to what we are now. So you've got here Red Hot Shot. That's a story there. And that does actually have who it's illustrated by, Eric R. Parker. You've got some a quiz, which is nice. And actually I bought this predominantly for strips, and this one in particular, the Trigan Empire. Now Trigan Empire is now available, and I'll just bring over the book without crashing everything down on the ground. Of course, these brilliant books from Rebellion. So volume 2 there. So that's the reason why I got the Trigan Empire one. And it's obviously in this slightly bigger than the examples there. Now, I think Look and Learn generally was always this size, unless it was smaller. I don't think so, but I think that you've got this absolutely superb artwork. I love the, well, it's certainly very quality, the paper. Just really beautiful. And the colours are, yeah, they're something, the colours. I think they're really good. Good little tale. I love the Trigan Empire. It's one of those ones that I resisted for a long time, which is weird because I love the stories about the Roman Empire, the history of the period, and also obviously, you know, Trigan Empire. It's basically following the Rome, but obviously with a bit of science and bits of technology and everything else, and fantasy and other things thrown into the mix. You got here Rob Riley, which is an unusual story. In fact, a very unusual strip at the time. Rob Riley, only just one page. And you've got obviously the school kids are being obviously these thuggish individuals are dubious characters. So you've got Russia's Spacewoman. This is a lovely article as well. Russia's Spacewoman, like beautiful drawing as well, painting, just gorgeous, absolutely. Again, no information about who did it. Then you got this one. Now when I'm looking at this, now maybe this is a UK artist, and I really must investigate the artist. Was, I haven't done that, but I will. Dan Dakota, Lone Gun. I would have said that's American. I don't know. It just looks like it. Maybe that was American. Maybe it was a Lone Gun. Absolutely, really, really good. And of course, on this size artwork, it's really good. A nice page. It's not like with the American ones where you got. And I often I think it works black and white sometimes. Black and white is a super effective way of doing comics, I think. I have no problem with black and white. But so you've got that. You've got obviously another article there. And you've got this. You've got Lion Summer Spectacular. Not Summer Special, but a Summer Spectacular. You know what? I had no knowledge about this one. It's got terrific colour features, Batman, Thunderbirds, James Bond, etc. Also, I love this as well. This is really good. Now, I don't know, this would be a nice little collection if someone brought out, say, a volume. Probably no one would buy it, so that would be probably a non-starter, but I would buy it. But look at that, Woman of the Week, Virginia Dare, 1587, obviously got some information about her, and Man of the Week, Sir Walter Scott. Really, really nice. Now, of course, Wikipedia, all those sort of things, all this sort of information is more readily available. But this was a great sort of, unless you had, of course, vast numbers of encyclopedias where you would have, you know, the Encyclopedia Britannica or something, you would have all that sort of information, but most people probably didn't have that, and also didn't have access particularly easy to a vast number of the books and access all these people. I mean, I must admit, I have no idea who Virginia Dare is, so, or Dare. My apologies if I said her name wrong. 3 in the Gobi Desert, another little article there. Disaster at Walnut Grove, obviously a story there. Again, a great bit of artwork there. Facts about first aid, you've even got about fractures and all those sort of things. Really good stuff. Then this as well, what a lovely article. Pleasure Piers. Wow. I mean, probably, you know, just beautiful, obviously some really lovely drawings there as well. And obviously all the various, you've got Dickens there. Reported that strolling on the pier, much invigorated him. So that was a pretty good story as well. And then you got a lovely advert for, obviously, Tina. Obviously, it was eventually became Princess Tina. But you got here, grows on you. Obviously, she's watering some flowers at that point. Pretty good stuff. And they're great magazines as well. Ones that I must admit at the time, I completely dismissed. I mean, back in '67, I would have been buying Marvel comics and things, and I would have looked at, but these stories actually were quite good. Jane Bond, Barbie, the model, and those sort of things. They were great little stories. So, and something, hopefully at some point, the Rebellion will bring out collections of Jane Bond. I would love to see that. Too Many Spies. You've got another story here. King's Messengers about various ciphers and things. And then on to The Three Musketeers. The last story here. Wow. What a great little story. And that's really good as well. Some beautiful colouring as well. really lovely, and the paper quality is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Then on to Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, also about Dunlop there, and the Doggett's coat and badge. So there's a lot in this thing. So it was a mixture of adventures, action, sports, whole heaps of stuff. And then at this end, I love this. Again, maybe people say it was slightly a bit more of a dull story to put in a comic, but really informative. So you've got a whole heap of information about the guilds of London. I mean, what a lovely thing. This is obviously the Worshipful Company of Grocers. You've got a whole information about the Pepperers and the various other people obviously involved, and the introduction of the Grocers Guild. And this is 1345, 1365, all that sort of period. And there's also information about the Great Fire of obviously 1666, also about how the property, residence of the Lord Mayor, and also various other things about how they got their coat of arms, and all about the information about their coat of arms. So you've got a great selection of lovely imagery, as well as some very informative. Obviously, I assume this was a series that continued for a little while. There's been quite a few guilds over the years, so I imagine that many were covered in this. And again, like I say, unfortunately, this is the only issue I've got, so all of the comparison I've said, all the things I've said in this, maybe other issues had completely different stories. Maybe none of the, I assume the Trigan Empire, of course, that continued for quite a while, but maybe some of the others disappeared and were replaced by others. So that's a really, really good magazine. Look and learn, incorporating the Ranger magazine. I think this is a totally brilliant little issue and thoroughly enjoyable.